Hey guys, welcome back to the Off Ramp. I am your host, Thomas Jason Anderson. Thank you for joining me again. For everyone who's been with me all this time, I really appreciate it. For everyone who's new, please subscribe. It really helps my numbers. It really helps me get the word out. It helps me get this content out because in the world we're in today, it's not easy content creating, especially when you're not backed by some foreign interests. So I'm doing this on my own from scratch. All of the research is my own. All of the production is my own. The set I did on my own. Um, Everything is me. And it's important that that's happening now because in today's world that we're in, there is a war between two superpowers, the United States and China. I'm inside the United States, and I was a part of the think tank community in Washington D.C. for over 15 years, and I had a pivotal role to play. And the job I played for that time when I was there was to work with the media, the New York Times, the New York Post, the Washington Post, every newspaper in the country, including television networks like Fox News, CNN, you name it. But it was my job whenever these news agencies ran into a reporting problem and they needed help to be able to prove that a story was either true or not, they would come to me. And the at the old place I used to work at, called the National Legal and Policy Center, uh, everyone knew in the media space to come to me when you wanted the truth, when you wanted the truth backed up by public documents. And that's my expertise. So I'm bringing that to you guys through this platform every day. I try to at least every day. And the subscriptions make a difference. Um, it's not about monetization as far as making money. It's about getting the message out. And the more likes and subscriptions I get, the further the message goes. And the reason why this message is important is because just as I used to provide this work to members of the media for 15 years, I'm now providing it to the general public. Yes, it's in a different form. It's through this platform that I have, Off Ramp Politics. And if you go to offramppolitics.com, you'll see a lot of my written pieces. I don't get heavy into exposing the public documents that I obtain. I keep those to myself, but I do interpret those documents and I combine those documents with my experience and with some reporting that I do. I reach out to people and I put it together to make this show. And so what you're going to get, the reason why I call it off ramp politics is because you're going to get something totally different here. You're not going to get what you see in the media space. You will get the news that's happening right now, yes, but the perspective you're going to get is the same perspective you'd have if you were researching this type of stuff in the background with the people in the media for 20 years. And it's a totally different perspective. It it's a refreshing perspective actually because transparency is everything. Sunlight is everything, and being able to access the sunlight, being able to access the evidence, the public documents through transparency, through the skills that I have, and to analyze it and apply it to the news stories of the day, it makes a big difference. I know it makes a big difference in my life. And it's made a big difference in the lives of everyone that I know that I've shared it with. So I'm trying to share it with more people around the world. Uh, the best I can because I feel like it's a calling of mine to sort of be a healer. I'm not politically inclined one way or the other. Yes, I do tend to work with the conservative side of things most of the time, but that's because of my faith. That's because I'm a religious person, not in the sense of I go to church every Sunday and I don't curse and there's no I curse on this platform. You'll hear me say things that are not so cool. Um, but I think God has given me some leeway on that. I prayed for him for some grace, and I think God is like, it's fine, child. You can curse every once in a while. It's not offending him. And when I do curse, it's only out of love. And so I'm looking to see how many people are on now. Cool. So I'm getting some viewers on now. Thank you for joining. Like I said, guys, please subscribe and please share. I think I'm sort of building this through word of mouth. So instead of having advertisements or pushing out whatever, buying likes or buying subscriptions, I'm hoping that each and every one of you can just subscribe and recommend the site to three of your friends. And if those three friends can subscribe and recommend three of their friends each, then I guess we can grow a little. Um, and the best part is that I am accessible. If you guys ever have any questions, if anyone ever wants me to take a deeper look into something that they're confused about, please reach out. I've done that many times. Even though I do it mostly with media, I will do it with the general public. I have no problem with that. I actually enjoy it. But you have to stay open minded, because the what happens with the space that I'm in, and you can see it as I cover the topics every day. Okay, good. That's good. As I'm covering everything, you'll see that, it seems like I'm pushing one side or helping another, and I'm not on any side. I believe every side has value. I believe every human being has value. I just think that we have to position ourselves better to be able to take advantage of the value we all have, so that we can share in our value and we can all prosper together, right? So, today's topic, Trump and the war with China. It's an important topic because I think a lot of people are starting to notice, because of the Southern Poverty Law Center indictment, that something happened in the year 2017 here in the United States. In 2017, we had this huge racial uproar from the right wing, the Nazi wing of the Republican Party. It came out of nowhere, like literally came out of nowhere. And the names and faces connected to it were people who were not inside of the Republican Party or the conservative movement before. These were people who had just come on. Some of these people I knew, okay? And um, I got to see firsthand in the think tank space how some of these people infiltrated the conservative movement in America. Um, I'll say a name, and I've tried to stay away from names, but I'll give an example. There's a popular guy with a platform right now. His name is Jason Whitlock. All right. So back in the day, a long back in the day, we're talking like 2009, 2010. I used to help him research wise because there was a problem with the University of Miami. They had come up into a thing with a Ponzi scheme guy called Nevin Shapiro. And the NCAA sent their investigators down. Yahoo News did a huge report on the school, and it looked like the football program was going down. A football program I love. And I dug into it, and I found a lot of discrepancies with the reporting. I actually sat down with the receiver for Nevin Shapiro's bankruptcy. I sat down with the receiver for a few hours and discussed some of my findings. And, what I found was that what was happening to the University of Miami was wrong. And what I dug up ultimately ended in the NCAA having to fire their entire investigative staff, which I believe is what led to the NIL. I truly believe today, I'm proud of the work I did with Jason Whitlock back then, because Jason allowed me to use his platform to defend the University of Miami football program, and defend it I did. And it did lead to the NCAA breaking down, their whole system broke down over this. And I do believe that was what led to college athletes being paid, finally. So I'm very proud of the work I did with Jason. I do not agree with him politically. But what was strange was that back when I helped him, he proclaimed to me that he was a socialist through and through, and that he was also a big Barack Obama supporter. And so years later, it shocked me in like 2017 when all of a sudden Jason Whitlock was one of the main conservatives with the Blaze and supporting Donald Trump. And I just thought, well, that's freaking strange, because he told me he's a socialist all the way down to his bones. And I knew that he was a huge Barack Obama supporter. I even went on his show. He had a podcast called Real Talk with Jason Whitlock. And I went on his show right before the election. It was the 2012 election, I believe. It was Barack Obama against Mitt Romney. And I remember that Monday night I did his show and I supported Romney, and he was so pissed. He actually stopped talking to me for a while because of that. After Obama won again, I remember when Obama won, I kind of drank a little bit and I was kind of tipsy and I was upset. And he called and he was like, "Ha ha, I told you, I told you." He was bragging about it, and I was really sad. And I was like, "I don't know, man. This Obama presidency is going to be a problem for America, a big problem." And he was really happy. And I just thought, okay, so that's what I knew of him. And then you fast forward to like 2017, and he's all involved with the Trump stuff and he's all into the conservative movement. I thought, man, that's really strange. And then I saw other people in like Candace Owens, who he supported, and they were all getting into TPUSA. And I go, what's going on there? And then I saw this guy, Nick Fuentes, pop up. And these are all leftists. These are all socialists. And all of a sudden they're conservatives and they're in the conservative movement and they're getting TV time, and Time Magazine was touting Nick Fuentes. And I'm looking at it at the time and I'm just thinking, this is amazing. this how is this happening? It's a total. I saw it like I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe my eyes. And I really couldn't tell anyone anything because I would sound crazy if I told people, nah, these guys are socialists. Like, you don't understand. They're Barack Obama supporters. They're not conservatives. Like, no one would believe me. Right. So I couldn't say anything. And that group of people went about blackballing me within the conservative movement because they knew that I knew they were frauds. They knew it. They knew that I knew that they were infiltrating the conservative movement and they were actually socialists. They were not conservatives. And so it really bothered me that a lot of people in the conservative movement believed them and helped sort of push me out. And so I ultimately had to leave the think tank that I was at. And I've sort of been in exile ever since. Okay, I'm a real conservative, but I've been put in exile, and they really tried to silence my voice, but I haven't given up. And so this is my platform to show who I am and to show that I'm still alive and I haven't given up. I don't care that these guys grouped up together and they pulled off their fraud or whatever they did. Who cares, man? That's fine. I understand. But what I'm noticing now is what they were a part of, I believe, was a bigger issue and a bigger strategy. And it involved China because in that same year in 2017, one of the leaders in China's CCP, a man named Wang Yi, he began a new program where China would no longer be sort of quiet and passive, that they would now start to leverage their will on top of the rest of the world, and they would start to reshape the world in the way that the CCP sees fit. I'm not going to say the Chinese people, how the CCP feels the world should be run, which is a big difference. There's a difference between Chinese culture and the Chinese people being like leaders in the world and the CCP being the leader of the world. That's a big difference. Okay. And that difference can be seen in this war that we're in right now between America and China, because the CCP has a few problems with their program. Okay. And the biggest problem that they have is that they're one dimensional. They're one dimensional when it comes to how they operate in this world. They only have one way to measure success, and that's material wealth. There's no other way. The CCP has banned all religion. They have banned anyone who believes in any type of faith or anything that is greater than material wealth. You're not allowed to get involved in anything like that. And they've totally wiped that out. And they go around the world wiping that out. Okay. They're anti-religious, anti-God, anti-faith. They are one dimensional. The only thing they care about is material wealth and material wealth only. And the problem with that stance is that, and you can look at I look at the Bible, right? You know, the Bible says we as people, we're like blades of grass. We're here one day and we're blowing in the wind the next. And guess what happens? No one paid attention. No one even cares. So it doesn't even matter how much material wealth you build up in this world, right? All of that goes away when you pass. And when that goes away with you, your memory goes away too. The only way to make a true lasting impact in this world is through the spiritual world, is through spirit. Here's proof of it, right? If you look at any great works of art, if you look at any great written works, if you speak to the people who, or you look at interviews, or you look at what people would speak about who had done these great works, they may not believe in a Christian God, but all of them pretty much, most of them, I say 90%, had some kind of knowledge or faith in a greater power than what material wealth could signify. Okay, going all the way back. Artists, great paintings, great works of television, movies. The greatest of the greats tend to be deeper than just material. They tend to have something else about them inside that makes them shine from the inside out, and that's the spirit world. And so the CCP doesn't believe in that. They don't believe that exists. They hold no value in that. And so they come into this war with America very one dimensional. Their measure of success is, can we consume more material things? Can we collect and hoard oil and rare earth metals and gold and money and property? And we need titles. Like this is, and the problem with that is you're never going to be satisfied if that's how you approach the world. It will never end, because you'll get a car and you'll think you're finally satisfied. And you'll say, no, but I want that car now. And then you'll say, finally, I don't really care about cars. I want something that flies. And it just goes on and on and on. You will never be happy if the only thing you're after is material wealth. You will you will have a hole in your heart that will never be filled. And the reason why is because no material thing can really impact your heart. I know that doesn't make sense, because people are like, well, how about if you love someone that's a material person? Well, who are you loving? What, their skin, their hair, or the person? And who is the person? Are they their hair? Are they their skin, or are they something more? Is there something in that person that is greater than everything that you can see on the outside? And I would say most people who can sense and interact with what is greater within us, they tend to have more fruitful lives. They tend to have happier lives. They tend to have more fulfilled lives. People who are stuck on the material only, they are always after the next best thing. They're never satisfied. They're never happy. And so that's what this war is about between America and China. China isn't happy, and they're never going to be happy, because everything about the CCP is about material gain. And like I just said, it's impossible to be satisfied if that's what you're all about. And so going back to 2017, Wang Yi decided, and the chairman of the CCP, Xi, decided to implement this new forward China thing, where they were now going to impact the world and make CCP the group of people who rule the entire world. And part of that program was reaching into the United States and coming at us not only economically, but they were attacking our think tanks. They were attacking our universities. They are going after anyone and everyone who could be a threat to them. Okay. Perfect example is I'm the guy who found that they had the secret police stations in New York City. I handed that off to the media. That was a big deal. That's how flagrant they are. They actually set up secret police stations in cities all over the world, where they go and they harass people and they illegally imprison them and ship them away, which after they're shipped away, they harvest their organs and they kill them. So this is a very nefarious group, the CCP, and their actions have been out of control since 2017. And so when I saw that 2017 year was important, that's when Candace Owens, all these people jumped into the conservative movement. That's also the year the Chinese started to get offensive into our society. I said, I'll bet that what's happening here is China has found a way through dark money to fund these people. They might pass it through the UK. They might pass the money through Qatar, India, whoever, not India, Pakistan, Russia, France, you name it. But I think the Chinese figured out, hey, we can take down our enemy, the Americans, by impacting them in the media space and therefore impacting their elections. And so everyone was looking at this SPLC issue right now as it's something that's separate from China. But I think the reason why it's happening now, why the Trump administration has gone after these guys within the SPLC on the right, the informants, is because this is related to China. This is a part of the war that Wang Yi has led on our nation. Wang Yi, sorry, has led on our nation on behalf of China, on behalf of the CCP, to infiltrate our universities, our think tanks, our social media spaces, and to push propaganda that does nothing but divide us and separate us and implode us as a country, that keeps us so confused that we can't group together and deal with our real enemy, which is the Chinese, which is the CCP. And it's been a masterful job that this guy's pulled off up until now. Okay. Now they're in trouble. And now they have people like myself who have weathered the storm, who are not backing down. We're fighting back in the media space. We have our own platforms. We're pushing hard. And yes, you saw, as people saw yesterday, I am involved in what's going on in Guyana because I know the CCP is there. The Jagdeo Bridge, that was the CCP. That's a part of them trying to bankrupt the nation of Guyana. Okay. They want to bankrupt that nation through really expensive public works that really are not affordable, that are not even really useful, that as far as making money, the kind of revenue you need in order to pay for such a project. And then once the nation is backed up and can't pay the loans, then China gets to basically strip you of all your resources, which in Guyana, it's plentiful. So right now, you can tell that the PPP, the party that's leading the Guyana, they have totally fallen into the trap. Bharat Jagdeo named that giant Chinese-built bridge after himself while he's still alive. He's bought in. He used to have a guy who lived on his property named Su, a Chinese guy who owned over half of all of Guyana's timber. Okay. So clearly the CCP have gotten their hooks into the leadership of Guyana, the PPP. They're there. Okay. And their job is to impoverish and to enslave the people of Guyana in order to steal your resources. And in the process, they will use Guyana against the United States to create problems in Venezuela and other places in the Caribbean, to allow the Iranians to build drone factories and to launch terrorist attacks from South America into the United States and to the rest of the region. They've been at this for a long time. It's very dangerous. And so, yeah, I've been pushing back, and we're getting to that point now where I think the Trump administration is getting there, where they're going to start looking at these guys in Guyana. They're going to start looking at people throughout the Caribbean and Central and South America who are clearly partnered with the CCP, because the problem is partnering with the CCP means that you are not only a danger to your own people, but you're a danger to us as well. And the reason why is because the CCP has an endless thirst for resources. They can never get enough. They will implode the entire world for greed. And like I said, the reason why is because they are one dimensional. They only know about material wealth. They know nothing else. That's all they know. And when you're like that, you're never satisfied. This is why they're out with fishing vessels trying to steal all the fish in the ocean. They're out there pouring cyanide around the Philippines to kill entire just swaths of ocean with fish. Okay, they're trying everything they can to cut off resources to rare earth minerals. They're trying to take over Taiwan to control the entire computer chip market. Okay, but all of this is about material wealth. Okay, it's all about the CCP's material wealth, and those are their family members and friends. That's what they're attempting. It's very one dimensional. It's very low brow. They walk around like they're so great, but it's just so disgusting, actually, right? And they never leave the door open for people of faith. They hate people of faith. I know because I've experienced their hate personally. They really hate that I'm a faithful person and I have faith, and they try their best to prove that I don't. Okay, they have minions in a lot of places, man. These guys are bad news. Okay, but looking at the SPLC thing, the more I look at it, the more I say, I'll bet China had a hand in that. I'll bet China had a hand in propping up people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, that whole crew. They're what they're doing is they're pouring the money in through cutouts, offshore accounts, Pakistan, Bangladeshis. They're passing the money through every way they can to get into the hands of these influencers. And the whole job of these influencers is to create chaos in America, is to divide us. Because if we're divided, then the CCP can also colonize America too and steal all of our food and all of our oil. You see how they're going after all of our farmland. And like I said, this is all one-dimensional thinking. It's all about material wealth. I mean, it's really sad. And they don't see that they will never be satisfied just being after material wealth. They can't see it. They don't understand it. They don't understand they've turned into ravenous beasts that are never ever full. Their bellies never full. No matter how much they eat, they never get full. And that's because those of us who have faith, those of us who are religious, we've already learned, we've already humbled ourselves, and we've already learned that when you put all of your power and time and faith in nothing but material things, that only brings you heartache and death. We know that. It might bring some highs. You might be able to brag about some things. You might be able to fake like you love yourself. But those of us who have humbled ourselves and come to God through Yahshua, through Christ, we know that is so not the right way to go, the material wealth way. We understand that the true world, the spiritual world, is what really does matter. That's what matters. That's where you're going to find your true happiness. That's where you're going to find your stability, is with God. We know that. And so that's really the clash between the United States and China. It's a clash of civilizations. It's a clash of, is a society hell bent on material wealth and placing a small few elite in the CCP above the whole world better than a nation in America, which is not perfect, but a nation full of faithful people, full of people who follow and strive to be close to God, whether we may be imperfect, and try to spread that love and wealth, not just material, but spiritual wealth around the world. Which was a better way to go? See, I think if you can see on the off ramp here, if you compare what I'm doing here to what, let's say, Professor Zhang is doing, who he's not even a professor, I think what I'm offering here is much more informative. It's much more helpful. It's not theoretical. It actually applies. And the reason why is because I'm mixing in faith. I'm mixing in what really matters. Whereas this guy, Professor Zhang, what does he know about that? He's all about material wealth. You'll see his lessons when he talks about, we're going to have a world war. He talks about this country's going to fight that country and everyone's going to fight each other. And it's going to end up like this. All right. You can draw that up on paper, but he never asks himself, okay, well, if there's going to be a world war, where is China going to get the oil to get the fuel to put into their machines of war? Where are they going to get it from? Not going to get it from Venezuela. They're not going to get it from us. They're not going to get it from Iran. And they're not going to get it from the Middle East either if they're going to war like that. So where are they going to get the oil for their war machines again? Professor Zhang never answers this question. He never even considers it because he doesn't realize that when you fight a war, you need resources. You need food. You have to feed your soldiers. You have to have oil. You have to have a lot of money. You have to have, it's not just the weapons or the know-how or the want to fight. You actually have to have the food, the gas, the shelter to actually feed and maintain your people when you go out there to fight. And so it's not so easy to say that, oh, we're going to have a world war and everyone's going to fight and this is how it's going to happen, like it's a video game. It's not that simple. It's way harder than that. But it's hard for guys like him and the Chinese to imagine this because, like I say, they're one dimensional. They just do the math on a piece of paper and they say, oh, this is what we need here, here, there for material things. And they never really think about, huh, well, how does all of this work as a whole? And how do we keep our society together? And how do we influence other societies other than trying to bait them into listening to us through claims of getting riches later on if we help you? Right? Is there some type of spiritual zone here? Is there a religious zone? Is there a zone of faith that can be used to bring nations together? They can't do that. It's against the law. CCP won't allow it. And so I think that's what does bring us together is our faith. I think that is a much better glue than material wealth. Like I say, material wealth comes and goes. And so here's where we are today, right? The SPLC, I'm pretty sure, had something to do with China. I'm pretty sure Trump going after it now is a part of dismantling the Chinese network of things here in the United States and getting rid of it because we are in a war with them. I think the way this is going to end is we're going to see the CCP fall. That's what I think. I don't think they can maintain themselves any longer because in order for them to maintain, not only do they have to, be good with all their international partners, but they have to be growing their relationship with these partners. And with the way that things have shooken out in Venezuela and in Iran and soon to be Cuba, they aren't going to have what they need materially to be able to get the kind of partners they need on their side to hold on to power. So I see a lot of chaos coming in China soon, and I think it's for the better because I think they need to stop being one dimensional. If you want to be a world leader, you cannot be one dimensional. You can't just be focused on material wealth, and you can't be just focused on one group of elite running the entire world. You have to be able to have some faith there. You have to be able to share the wealth. You have to be able to share the power. You have to be able to trust your partners and not always look to them to bankrupt them so that you can harvest their population's organs. All right. This is what these guys are doing. They're going into Africa. They're bankrupting these nations. They steal their resources. And in the meantime, they're grabbing the people in those nations and they're harvesting their organs. This is sick stuff. This is what you get when you're one dimensional and all you care about is material wealth. Because for them, they're only here to live and then they're gone. And so for them, if that means harvesting other people's organs, innocent people's organs, so they can continue to live longer than they should, that's what they're going to do. And that is what they do. China is prolific in harvesting organs off of people all over the place, even their own people. Right. So that just, it's a sad state of affairs. So I fully expect the CCP to have problems here. And I think they're going to have new leadership. And I think that's going to lead to something new in China. I don't think they can continue like this. I think, well, what's happened in Venezuela and South America and in Iran, I think that's the beginning of the end for these guys. I just don't think they can maintain. So with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you've gotten a better understanding of what's really going on in the news today. Um, I'm sorry I gave some names, but it is what it is. We're at that point in time now where people need to know the truth of what's happening in America and in the world. And this is what's going on. So if you do enjoy the content, please subscribe and please tell 3 of your friends and have them tell 3 of their friends each, because I've got to do this through word of mouth, the old fashioned way, not, through Bangladeshi bots boosting my stats. With that said, guys, I'll be back on later with a few shorts and I'll talk about this a little more and we'll dig into some stuff. But I love you guys. Take care. Have a great day.